Hey, welcome to part 2 of writing classic rock guitar riffs. So, we used the E minor blues scale in part 1 to generate a riff. E minor blues was open, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret on the E string, then 5th string, 5th and 7th fret. It's totaling 7 notes. So we got open 3, 5, 6, 7, 5, 7. The riff I had come up with using the random number generator. So this is a good way of coming up with patterns when you can't figure riffs out. What did I do? It was 5, so the 5th note, to the 1st note, to the 6th note, to the 3rd note. So 5, open, 6, 3, which I then alternated the last number. Instead of 3, I did a 7. So it would be 5, open, 6, 7. Alright, so I'm going to record an intro using my computer program. You can use anything you want. Your phone, your laptop, as long as it's got a way to record audio. What's preferable is multi-track recording, which you will need an interface for. Multi-track recording allows you to listen to one instrument while recording another instrument on a separate track. So everything's isolated. So if you need to turn one thing up and one thing down, it's not all into the same thing. So I'm going to use Sonar in my computer to record my intro. Make sure your metronome or your click, whatever you want to call it, if you have a multi-track recording program, you want to be able to set the metronome first, because then you can use all the things like virtual instruments, virtual drums, pianos, anything you don't own but you own in virtual reality. So I am going to record my guitar part first. This was my metronome. 1, 2. It's not bad. It's kind of slow. I think it's at 82. So here we go. I'm going to record my first riff. And this is just an intro riff, so I'm leaving space. Space is the one thing guys don't like doing. There's too, they can't hear the band behind them. So I'm going to leave space for my band to play. Playing in time is something you kind of have to develop a skill for, because at first the metronome is really annoying. It points out all of your time inconsistencies. So here's my riff, pretty basic. Alright, so I like setting a little drum beat behind each riff I write. Instead of moving on to the next part, I want to write a drum groove. And since this is an intro, I'm going to keep it fairly open. And I'm using a program called Superior Drummer. Its brother is Easy Drummer 2. Cool program's got all real samples of actually played drums, so they sound pretty good. And you don't have to play these with your fingers. You could use what they call MIDI patterns, which are already generated drum beats. So you would just pick them out of a pattern selector and it would play. In fact, if you have GarageBand or Logic, I think it actually can pick drum beats for you. Smart drums. So it'll give you a groove pre-written that kind of matches itself to your riff, which is cool. If you're just trying to write tunes, you're not trying to get into writing super complicated parts. You just want it to be a song first, and then you can go back and really nitpick all of, like, the little drum pieces. But right now, all I'm going to pick or use is the kick and snare drum, the core of the kit. Alright, so for my intro riff. Alright, 4 on the floor. Basically, all of my my drums were just basically on the quarter note. So I'm going to quantize this. Quantize is a basic computer or digital. It's a MIDI. It's a way to, MIDI means musical instrument digital interface, but it's a way to fix bad beats, or beats that aren't necessarily bad but out of time by a little bit. It'll nudge things into time. So Since my kick drum was on each click, quarter note, 2, 3, 4. Good enough. So here's what I like to do. To write the second riff, I cue it up to a measure of the last riff. So you can hear, you know, where you came from. It's important to hear what it's coming from and where it's going into. Otherwise, you're just writing a bunch of things that might not fit rhythmically. But if you have a click, you're not dealing with a bunch of things that are in different times. So I'm going to write a new riff because I don't want to use that same pattern, the intro. I want to write a new riff. So let's see. So 4 random numbers 1 through 7. 6, 6, 3, 1, 2. So 6, open 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, open 2, 3, 1. It's obviously open. And 2, second note of the scale. So my riff is. I'm going to do each one 2 times. Let's see if it fits. Good enough. We're going to record. Pattern, nothing crazy. Make sure your riffs are in time with the click, or else when you go to put your drum beat to it, it won't fit. Alright, I'm going to record a drum beat for this part. Alright, basic drum beat. I'm going to quantize this. So I'm going to quantize that to 16th notes because it's pretty quick. Whoa. What is that? Let's listen to that. We've got something fudgy going on. We might have 2 instances of the same thing recorded. I recorded onto the same two different MIDI tracks. Sometimes it happens. Terrible. Let's do this again. Undoing it. Alright, so I'm going to arm everything, always important. Okay, here we go. Alright, let's quantize that. 16th notes. Terrible. We're going to do that again. One more time. Keep it simple. The more elaborate your parts, the less time you spend writing actual songs. We just want a basic form. We don't want it crazy complicated. Good enough. Let me put some hi-hats over this. Drummers usually use their hats, closed or open, or their ride cymbal to keep time over a main groove. Everything else is accents. All right. Basic. Don't get too crazy. I'm going to quantize that to eighth notes. Cool. So we've got two parts. Let's see how they sound together. Alright, two parts. They work. The question is, are they any of the major parts of a song that we need? The major parts of a song are the verse riff, the chorus riff, and a bridge riff. Verse and chorus being the most important. Verse is where the story gets told. Chorus is where the ultimate idea of the song is expressed. So the simple idea, but it's usually the sing-along. The verse is the most open part normally, where you have the most room between chords. So something like this intro riff could actually be a decent verse if you have time. I'm using a technique the Beatles use a lot, which is nonsense words sung over the song to give you a feel of the melodic rhythm of the words, because it isn't about what you're saying most of the time, because people don't really understand you anyways. It's about how you're saying it. So melodic rhythm is important when coming up with lyrics. More so than sitting down and writing the most impeccably written lyrics, because a lot of people won't read them. It's more about how you're going to sing it. So nonsense words are good because it's more about how it sounds than what you're saying. Obviously, you can go in and write some really deep and meaningful lyrics that we all love. But for now, we've got two parts, and we don't know if this is a verse. This could be a chorus. You might want to take the energy down in the chorus. That would be the opposite of the average song, where it opens it up, it gives it space. And then this second riff, which is more energy, could be your verse riff. So ultimately, two riffs is a song. You know, you don't necessarily need to write a ton of parts to have an entire song. It's more about how you arrange them. You could, after the second riff, put the first riff back in. You could take the first riff, bring it back, but play it with twice as many notes. Don't change a ton, but instead of doing it wherever my pick went, losing the guitar pick. That's the classic, man. Anyways, this is how it works. So I could go. Alright, so I'm not using real chords in this, it's only power chords. I could stick with single notes to alternate something in terms of contrast, which might give... So all I'm doing is playing the first note. Which really wouldn't, you know, it's not a terrible thing because the rest of your band... You could write an entire song based on one pattern as long as you space it out different. So, thanks for watching, guys. In part 3, we're going to go over how to arrange the pieces, write a third part. If you have any questions, ask them in the field below, and you could email me at completesongwriter@gmail.com. And remember, guys, subscribe and like. Thanks for watching.